There comes a moment in every life when comfort becomes the greatest enemy of growth. You know what you are called to do, yet you delay it and tell yourself that tomorrow will be different. Paul Washer speaks with a fire that does not let your excuses live for even a second. This message shakes your heart and pulls you out of your laziness because it reminds you that God has placed a purpose in you that demands action today. When you force yourself to rise, you discover strength that was always inside you waiting to be awakened. This introduction prepares the listener for a message that will not let them stay the same. Discipline begins in that moment when your heart whispers that you are tired and your mind tells you to wait for a better day. It is in that exact moment that greatness is either born or buried. Paul Washer reminds us that the call of God does not depend on how we feel. It depends on how willing we are to obey even when nothing inside us wants to move. When you push yourself beyond your comfort, you discover that fear was smaller than you thought. You feel strength rise the moment you choose action over excuses. Every time you force yourself to stand when your body wants to sit, you are training your spirit to lead your life. Discipline is not built in easy days because anyone can work when everything feels simple. Discipline is built in the battles no one sees when you drag yourself forward inch by inch, only because you know God deserves your best. This is where true transformation begins, and this is where the path of purpose starts to clear. You learn that the human heart becomes stronger every time it refuses the voice of weakness. You begin to see that God honors effort even when it looks small to you. The more you push yourself, the more you break the chains that have held you back for years. Laziness loses power when you act in spite of it, and fear loses voice when you choose courage over comfort. With every disciplined step, you reshape your future and rewrite the story you once thought was fixed. You realize that change is not a sudden miracle, but a daily decision to rise again and again. God works powerfully through those who refuse to quit. Keep moving forward because your obedience today prepares your victory tomorrow. God opens doors only for those who move toward them because faith is never meant to be a silent thought in the mind. It is meant to be a force that drives your feet toward the path God has prepared for you. Many people wait for a perfect sign before they take a single step. But Paul Washer reminds us that God often reveals the next step only after we begin to walk. You cannot expect direction while remaining frozen in fear. Courage grows when you decide to act even when the outcome is unclear. Progress is born when obedience becomes stronger than hesitation. When you move forward, God meets you with strength that you did not know you had. Opportunities that once seemed distant begin to open simply because you refuse to stay still. Every small act of courage becomes a message to heaven that you are ready for the next chapter. God honors movement because movement shows trust, and trust draws the power of God into your life. You start to see pathways that were invisible when you stood in the same place. You begin to feel a confidence that rises from knowing you are walking in the direction of your calling. There will be moments when the path feels rough and the door seems locked, but even then you are being shaped for the blessing that waits ahead. God uses every difficult step to build your character and strengthen your resolve. You become someone who does not break under pressure because your faith was trained through action. When you keep going, you give God something to work with, and He takes your effort and turns it into breakthrough. Your movement becomes the key that unlocks the next stage of your journey. Keep stepping forward because the door you need will open when you refuse to stay still. Your future depends on the choices you make in hidden moments, because these quiet decisions shape the person you are becoming long before the world ever sees the results. Paul Washer reminds us that true strength is built in secrecy, where no applause exists and no praise is given. It is in those unseen hours when you choose discipline over distraction that your character begins to sharpen. Every moment you resist comfort and choose purpose, you are building a foundation stronger than any challenge ahead. These private victories become the silent architects of your destiny. This is where real transformation begins within you. When no one is watching, you discover who you truly are and what you truly desire. If you choose to honor God in private, you will walk with power in public because your heart has been trained in sincerity. Each hidden choice becomes a seed planted in the soil of your future, and every seed grows into the life you eventually live. Many people want great results but avoid the quiet sacrifices that greatness demands. Yet it is in these small unseen steps that your faith becomes firm and your determination becomes unshakable. You begin to see that your destiny is not shaped by a single big moment, but by hundreds of small decisions. And every one of them matters. These hidden moments create the discipline that allows you to move toward the doors God opens for you. You stand stronger because you learn to win battles that no one else knew you were fighting. You persevere because you trained your heart in silence long before the world ever heard your voice. When you honor these private choices, you prepare yourself for public purpose. Nothing is wasted when you give your best in the quiet. Keep choosing wisely in the unseen, because God is building your future through every secret act of obedience. In the end, this message calls you to rise above the weakness that tries to hold you down and walk with a courage that does not depend on feelings. You have seen that discipline begins when your emotions resist action, and that God responds when you step forward with faith. You have learned that your quiet choices shape your future long before any spotlight appears. Now it is your turn to act with purpose and to honor the calling placed over your life. Move with determination and trust that God will guide every step. Keep going because your victory begins today.